anyway, it's out, it's gone. I just want to praise Unicorns of Love instead because I think they actually managed to engage some of these fights extremely well.
Yeah.
When they were a bit behind, especially Hylissang is a man I'm looking at with the Rakan. I think this time around G2 Esports needs to respect it. That's why they're banning the Rakan.
Definitely do. Ban the Rakan away. And just such clean performance across the board. Xerxes also picking up the Hecarim. And not something G2 Esports can afford to ban here, but maybe something they have to be careful about coming into this next game, because if they give Xerxes the time to farm again, he's going to be happy to grab that champion.
So now, Unicorns are wondering whether or not they choose to ban away the Thresh or the Zac, because it means that G2 are instantly going to lock in the opposite, right? Like, oh, okay, so we're having a bit of a shift.
Yeah, you mean Rumble.
The Rumble, yeah.
Rumble. Bit of a hiccup there, bit of a hiccup. Rumble, got it. Good prediction.
Interesting that they would choose to prioritize that. It seems like a lot of focus is on trying to take Chachi off of a comfort champion.
It actually also tells me that maybe Expect is not too comfortable playing the AD carry Kennen in this specific matchup. And he's like, I don't want to be in this situation where I need to pick the same thing against his early Rumble pick. Because we got to remember, Mr. Chachi took it instantly. On red side, he just locked it in straight away. So in that case, it makes sense, but you are sacrificing a lot. Like the Thresh now over to Hylissang, meaning that Rakan ban, he's probably not too sad about it anymore.
And really interesting, too, that we see so much priority on the top lane pick here coming in for G2 Esports. We saw the same from Unicorns of Love, but now they get their hands on the Gragas and the Thresh as well. And these are two pretty big picks.
And you also need something for Trick in that jungle. He's, again, been struggling when he's not getting some comfort picks. Kha'Zix is one of the big ones for him that I would like to see.
Olaf too, another really big pick that he had a lot of success on at MSI. I understand the Tahm Kench pick. I think that it is another answer to the Thresh. And now I wonder if G2 are looking to continue with the prioritization on AD carries, or instead they look to try and get Trick that comfort jungle role.
Yeah, I think instead of saying we want to get the best for Sven, they're actually saying we trust that he can obviously perform on 10 other AD carries right now. So even if Unicorns ban away 2 of them, and one of them being the Caitlyn, we got Varus, we got Ashe. Like, there's enough in the tank. Twitch as well, we've seen him play. So I think doing this is actually smarter. They're putting priority on a guy like Trick, saying you need your best available jungler right now, and he's getting it.
The thing is, now if you're Unicorns of Love, you can really start to pinch that role. You can ban away the Varus, you can ban away the Ashe, and you can force Sven onto something like a Kalista or a Twitch, and that will really give him a rough laning phase compared to what he had before.
I mean, definitely true with the laning phase, but I think, again, if you are Sven, like, you are one of the AD carries who can handle that.
For sure.
Like, we've seen the Kalista Tahm Kench combination work beforehand. Obviously, also, his Kog'Maw is a thing to play for late game scaling.
It's a thing.
It's very hard to play against Unicorns, though, because they do not really let you sit and just safely farm.
And it's interesting, too, because the Ivern's still up and available, the Gragas potentially a flex, already a Caitlyn on the Unicorns of Love side. Do you really want to play the scaling AD carry comps against this team in G2, banning away the top laners, trying to limit Visit Chachi, whereas, as predicted, the focus remains on AD carries for the side of Unicorns of Love.
Now, what I find fascinating is the fact that G2 is still banning away top laners, because in my head, I saw that Gragas pick, and I'm thinking, it's very likely he's going to the top lane, because Gragas is often a good answer into Rumble. He can hold his own, he has decent sustain, he can match the wave clear fairly well, especially with the recent early nerfs to Rumble, so it's fine. But Xerxes is also well known for playing that jungle Gragas.
Yeah.
Love it. Vedius, you gotta understand, man. Right when you think you got it figured out, you don't, man. It's the Unicorns of Love, and they are trying something again. Yet another new jungler in the hands of Xerxes so far. Now with his hands on the Rex side, this one's interesting. I don't quite know how to feel about it as a new pick, but definitely
I like it.
Potentially very powerful.
Yeah, I like Rek'Sai's early game a lot. I think she's actually really strong there. She can match a lot of the early game junglers in the game, and her gank is very good as well.
But Xerxes has never been known as that early game heavy jungler, right? Like, we were talking backstage about the different itemizations that you can go with Rek'Sai, which you can delve into more in the game, but I'm thinking that Xerxes is more the type of jungler to go for more of the scaling type, more of the gold investment of something like the Titanic Hydra, and go for more of that team fighting scaling build.
Could definitely be the case. We might see Ryze coming in once again from Exile. He picked it last time against the Lucian. Did struggle a little bit early on, but then actually bounced back pretty well in that lane. And it is another game of Perkz Lucian. It is pretty hard right now to get excited about that because it's not been a very successful champion for him specifically.
But the Twitch, a real late game scaling hyper carry, something that can win team fights single-handedly now in the hands of Sven. But looking at the composition for Unicorns of Love, once again, Unicorns of Love, so much CC on their lineup in a similar story as we saw in Game 1 for G2 Esports. A lot of characters who maybe need to get the ball rolling early on.
I mean, and that's the problem for G2 right now is they have to kind of cut corners in the draft to get some of their very few key picks they have for some of the struggling members, like taking that Kha'Zix instead of the Caitlyn, getting Metis Tahm Kench, meaning that Unicorns of Love could now pinch the best AD carries, and suddenly Sven is not in a position to win lane, win game, like we saw him try to do in the last one.
But you talk about pinching roles, targeting Sven. Perkz is considered to be one of the best mid laners in the world, and he had complete freedom in what he wanted to go for. We've seen Corki return to the meta. We've seen Syndra continuously be a power pick for him. I feel like that he had so many options that would have better facilitated his comp, and instead he chooses to go for the Lucian once more.
Still potentially a powerful pick. It had a pretty solid matchup to the Rise early on, but we have questions. We want to see more from G2 Esports, but if you're a Unicorns fan, you have to be feeling pretty good. A lot of playmaking potential on this lineup. Some new picks as well, some comfort picks to back it up.
And you just won in 26 minutes as well against G2, a team that in the past has been able to take you down multiple times, even denied you an LCS championship in the spring split.
Here we go, folks. G2 on the blue side, Unicorns of Love on the red. One more win, and Unicorns of Love will take their first series over G2 Esports since G2 have joined the LCS. Unicorns fans are definitely ready for it, but if you're voting on the side of G2, man, they're going to need that energy.
Roman said that today would be the day that they finally broke the curse. Not the curse of the monkey paw, a different curse.
Well, you don't know. Maybe everything goes wrong after.
We're very superstitious on this test.
But
maybe that's what they wished for.
That's why he put the battle helmet on. He was ready. He felt that his team was primed.
No unicorn hat today, folks. He's going to war. He's got spiky things on the side of his helmet. Still, I mean, still like the toy pony thing in his hand. I mean, come on.
You can't ruin Fluffy when it comes to the flag bearer, right? But you can see it in their playstyle. Like Unicorns, they felt so confident in Game 1. Even though they fell into that early deficit, they still stuck to the very classic Unicorns of Love style, and they still find avenues back into the game and punished the weaknesses within G2's composition. And again, looking at the comp of G2, the big concern that I have is this front line. We talked about it in Game 1. We're looking at it once more again. They do have the Tahm Kench. He is pretty tanky, but he's also fairly easy to ignore when you're looking at things like a Gragas and a Thresh. And when their composition is a little bit more tailored towards team fighting with the Twitch and the Rumble, I am a little bit concerned about that lack of solid front line that can mitigate some of the engage coming out from you.
While I do like the Gragas engage, it's not as powerful as we saw in the last game with Hecarim and Rakan. So that was like super easy for Unicorns of Love to always go in for these fights here. But yeah, it's always a concern when you run without that massive front line. Teams who are good at finding the openings, being at a TP flank from a Gragas, and suddenly your AD carry is gone before you even know it.
And we've seen a lot of compositions work like this in the past. We've seen them in the hands of SKT, even in a few teams in Europe where they do not take a tank. They rely on perfect execution, these high damage picks, but it feels super risky. It is not a safe composition.
I just really want to follow Xerxes now because, again, we talked a lot about Hecarim last game, how powerful he is once he gets to level 6, gets his first item, and he can then really start fights against these squishy AD carries. Rek'Sai is not the same. She's not as good of a team fighter as she used to be. Like, her knockup is just on one target that actually flies up into the air, but she can gank in the early game so effectively still. And she's in the top lane right now. Expect level 2 only.
Or Expect, once again, not having a good time in this landing phase. The chain CC comes in. He's going to flash out to safety. They don't think they might push this one. Barrel, not enough. Q, crazy. Oh, first blood. Woo. Playing with our hearts, but Xerxes going to get it.
Nice snipe from Xerxes. The Q now scales with AD, taking that additional bit of damage, getting
and killed AP Rek'Sai and ARAM. Just gotta say, man.
Oh, man. Fantastic start for the Unicorns of Love, and this is exactly what you were talking about, Deficio.
That is definitely the case with Neo Rek'Sai right now, which is why I love to see Warrior enchant on her. Just say, you know what, I need damage early, I need to just gank my lanes, and then later you can keep trying to like 1v1 and 2v2, because again, your team fighting is not as powerful, but this is a great gank, and it's the classic old-school Rek'Sai gank. You sneak in behind them, you tunnel over the wall, and yes, they might flash away, but they're basically flashing over you to get closer to the tower, so you can still hit them. And then you can also snipe them in the end. Xerxes, he's back top lane because Expect well sitting without a flash, and there's really no way to escape.
Rek'Sai doesn't even have eyes, and he made that shot. Well, now they're going for more. Rinse and repeat. Knock up once again. No flash this time. Expect. This is dirty. This is. I cannot imagine what this feels like. But Perkz getting a similar dose here. Exile winning out the trades. Ooh, flash traded back. Wasn't quite enough on the spell flux.
It is just so beautiful from Xerxes. The repeated gank. I have to.
Move forward. All right, well, G2 firing back.
Very clean gank from Trick. He knew that the flash was down from Exile, was able to just walk in, get away the kill. I feel like Division is about to say, we've seen this before from Exile.
It's the most classic thing from Exile ever. He's top lane with his jungler getting fed. Bot lane. There's a time Kench, everyone. He's here to deny the fun. But man, top lane doing so well for Unicorns, and then Exile used flash, traded it with Perkz. Just leave, man. Just leave. Your team is already winning. You don't need to push that way.
And look at the mid lane matchup too. 40 CS to 22.
It's just unnecessary.
Exile just died.
Okay,
what is it, Draco?
I'm just.
Are you mad at Tom
Yes,
Kench?
I'm mad. Every time this GME, I remember. You remember when he came out? We're like, all right, guys. Do you remember when we used to have fun and use CC? Never again. Well, still a very effective pick. Has stopped 2 chain hooks, but Sven may want to be careful. Can't afford to keep tanking this.
And Lord Jesper Svenningsson.
Lord Jesper.
He's on a bit of a rough time in this laning phase. He is falling a little bit behind, but as you rightly said, given his current achievements, he's doing perfectly well for himself in the bottom lane.
I mean, he just needs to go even. That's basically his job right now, and hoping that the rest of G2 is not falling too far behind. But that is obviously pretty difficult if you are Expect at the moment. You're against the Gragas who can set up a gank. You have no flash as a Rumble. And obviously the Rek'Sai is so powerful early on.
But no Devour. Okay, I was just ready. I was just like, we're not even going to talk about it. He's just going to eat him. But decent damage does go down on his Sven.
I want to go back to Rek'Sai now that Xerxes hit level 6 and bot lane is, anti-fun with just Devour from Mithy every single time.
What?
Saving it. Could actually use it right there.
It's a long cooldown, guys. It's a long cooldown.
Could definitely use it right there to deny some damage, but level 6 Rek'Sai, it's no longer the global ulti we've seen before. It is instead some powerful.
They're going to delete him immediately, and now Xerxes is in no man's land. He's going to have to be careful, but the ult is available. Just going to look to finish. Ulti. Disappear, reappear, down he goes. Now he wants to escape the knockup, but the tower going to shut him down, and that's 2 for Trick.
So you can see that Xerxes does a lot of damage when he does hit that level 6 mark. It means that Perkz will lose his life along with Exiles, but Trick is going off in this early game, cleaning up a lot of these early fights, being able to put a bit of pressure down from the side of G2 as well, and we can see that Xerxes just hanging off to the side, ready to try and set up a game.
I also have to question Xerxes actually playing around mid lane when that's where they have the weakest lane. Exile obviously no flash, no level 6, just died instantly. While Xerxes with that new ulti, as you see here, go on the ground and you pop forward and you instantly burst down the target. While he's getting a kill in mid, like, top lane is the no, or was the no flash rumble. It is available now from Expect. Like, I'd much rather see that lane just continue to be put in the dumpster, and you can take that top lane tower and use that to further snowball.
What you're saying is this 30 CS ahead Gragas needs to be snowballed even more.
You want to get that tower as fast as possible.
I
It's very rare we take strategies from solo queue, but camping the winning lane feels like a good bet here for the side of Unicorns.
I do understand what Xerxes is trying to do, right? He realizes that Perkz 2 has no flash, and it's a good lane to gank, because when you have a Rise and no cleanse, you're looking at a potentially easy kill. But as you rightly said, like, taking down structures, trying to redeem Exile for his early fumble, perhaps not the best investment of Xerxes' time, but he's just trying to be a good jungler for his man.
And this is hard, because as much as we talk about the mid lane, we just have to look at Expect. This man has been getting destroyed in the top lane. You can see the CS at 15 last game, 117 to 148, and it looks like it's not going to be much better this time around. Just massive early leads from this side. And Vizicachi getting some support, but also just outplaying the competition.
He was good at setting up the ganks with Xerxes right there. Obviously, it takes 2 guys to actually execute it. Xerxes is finding Perkz and Trick in the mid lane. Also, furthermore, looking at Vizicachi's build right now, as you see, no triple Dorns. Obviously, on 7-12, stacking them no longer gives you that cool little mana thing when you get some kills. Instead, Dark Seal. I actually like that. I think it's a good replacement. Obviously, you can't really stack too many things. But
Exile in trouble. Poling comes out. Oh, no. You can't even see him coming. And Deficio, you told Exile to back off. You said just back away. It might be a little too late. The Kha'Zix is ready to dive him under that
his
tower.
Man.
What can you do?
It's definitely rough. This is what we wanted to see from Trick in Game 1. Snowballing perks on the Lucian. Get him ahead and further deny Exile, the point of weakness that we have seen from Unicorns time and time again over the last few weeks.
I gotta say, Vedius, talking about Trick's taking all these kills. I think Trick is snowballing Trick right now, Vedius, if we're being honest. Perks is setting that up for him, and it's looking good to be a Kha'Zix.
And it's a different jungler we're looking at compared to the Lee Sin in the last game. They couldn't actually really execute anything, so it's good to see Trick on comfort, and that's why G2 favored that in the draft and said, you know, we need to get this, even if it means sacrificing our AD carry a little bit, at least in the early game. Sven, though, is able to stay even in farm, which is technically, again, a win for the Twitch.
Twitch, of course, outscaling, so we're happy to stay even for now, but we check in on the jungle, rather all in on the bottom side. Sven just backing off. Patience coming in, Devour still available, but Rek'Sai on the bottom side. No vision in that brush. Mithy moving forward to get it, but Prey Seeker goes wide, and that could be huge. Kha'Zix, though, responding on the top side.
Looks like G2 trying to get a bit of deep vision, but Urwell invested on getting this early tower on the bottom. They have so much pressure in the top with Gragas. They know that this bottom lane just continues to push. As another gank happens mid from G2.
Yeah, but this time Exile is playing very defensive, so that's very good from him. Flash is available, and if he keeps buying time in mid, it means Unicorns will take bot lane tower on their own, and that we also know they're winning top lane. Mithy right now has to be a bit careful, but obviously he's trying to maybe bait in Unicorns of Love because the rest of G2 are on the way.
Kha'Zix has been spotted, so Unicorns of Love know that it is time to back out. No pressure put on the Dragon, however, it is the Infernal. Neither team want to focus it quite yet, but Perks now going in onto Exile. No fear here in these mid lane trades. Pulling for a bit of extra damage, but just happy to keep taking these.
Good sidesteps there from Exile. Bear in mind, Infernal Drake is on the board for both these teams. Felt like that UOL also could have used that push in bottom to try and set up for that early Drake as well. Bear in mind, they do have the TP on Chachi, but instead they get forced back by G2, unable to try and set up for him.
We also have to remember when they are losing mid lane, going for an objective like Dragon is very risky because Exile is not going to join the fight first. It is going to be Perks roaming down. I think getting that bot lane tower should be priority number 1 right now, seeing as you already chunked it down, and then go for that top lane tower after, with Chachi's winning lane. They are playing on bottom side with TP available. Exile as well moving down with the control ward, making sure that he's not spotted yet, and they're going for this tower.
And Trick, of course, spotted out by the Tremor Sense, so they know there's 3 members here. Do see him under the tower as well. Sven revealing himself, and here comes the Rise on the way in. Mithy in trouble, can't eat himself, unfortunately. Now Exile just going to get lanterned out to safety, an aggressive dive, but here comes the TP.
Oh, he cancelled.
Matched out, Unicorns of Love. Are going to complete it in the end. Vizicachi ready to move forward. This tower is going to drop. Perks is here. Vizicachi moves forward. The rest of the team, they haven't killed the tower yet. Vizicachi's going to drop. Overstays, and now Trick is on the hunt. He moves forward, but has to back off in the end. Noah saying Hook not going to connect, and G2 doing everything they can to hold on for dear life.
Overzealous play there from the Unicorns of Love as the fight continues.
Kha'Zix backing off. Tower does drop. G2 just going to walk away. A trade of kills, but expects pushing on the top side.
Yeah, suddenly expect getting damage top lane and a lot of farm. He was far down in CS before here, but that was actually huge now for Expect. Obviously, Unicorns did get the first tower gold in the bottom lane, so they got something out of it. But definitely did not want to trade Vizicachi's life and TP with the full cooldown right there. Could have cancelled, and they just said, you know, it's a 4v3 on the bottom side. Maybe even step away if you are the Unicorns.
Has been a huge point of huge winning factor, though, Vizicachi. Maybe a little too eager to snowball that lead further to the team if you watch this one more time.
And bear in mind, the dive itself was very well executed from the Unicorns of Love. They put the focus down onto the Tahm Kench so that he couldn't protect anyone from the hook, along with the Lantern to pull Exile out after he was stuck underneath the tower. Now, the TP, you'd think, is pretty good if they focus the tower. Instead, they tried to go for the dive, and it feels like that the Unicorns were not respecting the possibility of Hooks roaming down to the bottom lane and swinging this around. to get a few kills in favor of G2.
And maybe missing that one guy saying, cancel, cancel, no, don't do. We don't need it, we don't need it. Exile is low. They're going for mid lane though.
Oh, Perkz potentially in trouble. No plans to get him out of this, but he does have the exhaust. Hilla saying, oh, you do not have the life to go toe-to-toe with the Lucian. Perkz trying to get the fancy play. He does take down the Thresh in the end. Mithy says, hop in my belly. I'll take you out. The fancy footwork coming in.
Big plays in the mid lane from Perkz right now. Got a lot of ganks early from Trick as well. And this Lucian is finally able to actually snowball a bit from the early game. We haven't seen this yet from him specifically. Let's see what happens in bottom lane.
Trick is on the way down. Cast to try to disengage, but there are 2 members strong here. Leap forward, red buff proc. Vizicachi's running for his life, but with no cast. This is all but certain death. Stealth up, reset at the unseen predator, but expect gonna take it in the end.
And Chachi again not respecting G2. First time he didn't respect the roam from Perkz, and now he's not respecting the fact that they have no vision in the river, and that is one of the easiest ganks of Trick's life. 4-0-2 right now. They even give the kill over to expect to give him a bit of gold as Unicorns try to answer in the top side.
Love how Trick was just standing right in front of the Gragas at all times. Just make sure you block that body slam. It's the only way to escape. Well, Vizicachi wasn't able to do it, and that's also now a Drake over to G2 Esports. Unicorns, they need to find an answer. Problem is they're still losing this mid lane. Trying to get a Rift Tail, but there's a lot of guys from G2 around. Trick on the way as well.
Have to be careful. Perkz low on mana. Exile in a similar state. Ultimate going to come out. Expect with the TP available. Won't be necessary, however. Unicorns of Love just going to back off. Bot lane swap to the top side. Exile returns mid, and nothing explosive happening on the map.
G2 continuing with the pressure. They do actually have the kill advantage, even though they only have a 200 gold lead, largely because of the tower advantage going in favor of the Unicorns of Love. Now, Sven and Mithy, they're going to continue to struggle in this 2 versus 2. And right now, because of the amount of vision invested in the top side, especially with Xerxes hanging around, it's going to be difficult for Trick to find some kind of a gank. So I wonder if we can see some kind of ultimate play coming out from Mithy, as a bit of a trade happens in mid lane.
A bit of a one-sided trade. Perkz exhausting Exile, looking for the solo kill. Is he going to get it? We can't see because we have to focus on the top side because Sandwich is going to get deleted. Trick does so much damage. No Tom Kench to save that Caitlyn, and now Thresh is all but dead too. One last auto for Sven to close it out, and that's 2 kills over to G2.
Things are really falling apart for Unicorns of Love. Chachi, no TP from him, couldn't really join a top lane fight. His mid laner needs to just flash away from the engaged mid, and then of course top lane. Fairly easy gank from Trick again. 5-0-3 on this Kha'Zix. It's been such a difference watching him on this champion, and very easy for him to jump in, find Samox on his own, and obviously nothing as a Caitlyn that you can do here.
He literally walked into the lane. Like, he just walked.
Is that a free kill?
Oh, tower.
You got to remember, Expect has been doing a lot of work on these towers here. He got a lot of damage on the top lane one from the fight in the bottom lane before.
Yep.
And then he actually got some damage on bot lane tower after. So these outer turrets here are not super healthy for the Unicorns of Love.
There's a lot of gold just sitting there waiting to be taken for G2, and they already have the gold lead thanks to the number of kills that they've been able to find. It feels like that Trick has just been so much more active on the map. Really been able to set up Perkz for success in the early game, and now we're seeing the fruit of those labor as they're starting to punish the overextents of the Unicorns.
I definitely want to praise Xerxes' early game as well. Camping top lane, getting those kills. Let's see what happens.
It's not about that. Abyssal Voyage trying to deliver the fight to him. Trick's going to lean forward. Xerxes, where are you at? It's too little, too late. Sammix is running for his life to rise. I don't think he's got enough. Equalizer comes down to kill Sammix. That's the icing on the cake for G2, though. The fight is already going in their favor. Xerxes running for his life. Tunnel reset means he's going to make it out. But are they safe for now? Because Trick is leaping forward. No one isolated. No major slows, and Unicorns of Love, they're only going to lose the 2.
But look at the tower HP. One strong breath will be able to knock that one down. And there are still 4 members of G2 poised and ready to fight.
Mithy has to be careful. Vizicachi not a lot of mana, but enough to get the CC. Flash out to safety. Now backing off. Meanwhile, Perkz in the mid lane, however, he's just going to break a tower uncontested, and Unicorns of Love still are not safe under that top tier 1.
Oh, the only champion on the side of Unicorns that's actually strong right now is the Rek'Sai. Excelled at ganking, strong early game, that worked for Xerxes. Problem was the rest of Unicorns here have just been falling behind. The Caitlyn, while we're doing a lot of work on turrets, are now again even with the Twitch. Not what you want if you're the Unicorns of Love, and Exile, of course, got camped in that mid lane by Trick. Great performance from G2's jungler, and it's why G2 Esports are currently sitting ahead.
One of the concerns that we discussed was, what are G2 going to do without a front line? Well, who cares if your front line can literally obliterate the entire enemy team? Look at how Trick, without any hesitation, dives onto Hylissang, and with Sven and Mithy, just dismantles this bottom lane of the Unicorns of Love. Immediate teleport from Expect as well. And this just reminds me very much of G2 looking extremely good when they're in control and they're the ones setting up these plays. Something that they've always been praised for is their ability to just communicate when they know what they want to do, but when they have to react, that is when their communication breaks down. And right now, it is not Unicorns of Love that got that early lead and snowballed it in their favor. It is G2 on the back of Trick, who is currently in control of the game.
And he was a big question mark coming into this week. We saw so many different champions in his pool. We wanted to see more consistency coming in, and it's not consistency yet, but it is a fantastic performance. And it is the reason that G2 have advantage right now. Unicorns of Love, however, they're regrouping up. They've got a chance. The map is reset. We have to look what they're going to do next.
If you're Unicorns of Love, you shouldn't really be able to find an easy opening. You don't have a split push and comp. You don't have now these winning lanes, or at least a winning bot lane, because the laning phase is over. So you're going to kind of be forced to try and take a team fight to get back in this game. But when you are down 4k gold, it gets really difficult to actually win those fights. And you can see Unicorns here, as soon as G2 shows up in mid, they just back away and they realize, yep, we can't actually go for this tower. Have to just respect Trick and the rest of G2 eSports.
And we talked a lot in Game 1 about vision. Just look at the Envision investment from the Unicorns of Love right now. There are a few wards dotted around the mid lane. There's one down in the bottom. But they have no control over their own jungle. There is very little vision going up against a Twitch, a Tahm Kench, and a Kha'Zix. Think of the number of avenues, the opportunities that G2 have to find these picks. Because Unicorns, they just see nothing.
Expect. Tiamat practiced off the back. Expect has to be careful. Rise is running in. This is bad news for the Rumble. Exile's hungry for blood. He is going to use the Ghost to try to chase it down, but Tahm Kench is going to come in to save the day. One of the small boons, of course, inside of Unicorns of Love is they may not have vision control, but the Rek'Sai Tremor Sense will reveal a bit. However, Hylissang has overstepped, or is it Perks? Out comes the Equalizer, in comes Sven. He does so much damage. Spray and pray. Nothing's going to stand in this guy's way, but here comes Cersei. Here comes the ultimate Sven. Can he dodge it? He does. Not enough coming in from the Rek'Sai, and the fight just going to keep going, and here comes Trick. That fed Kha'Zix is a monster, but it's the double kill for the Rumble.
And we can see our Unicorns of Love, they know they need to just find some sort of fight to try and get back in the game. They actually did find Expect early. He managed to survive. They look for another pick then with Hylissang. And in the end, when so many members on the side of G2 are strong, well, you might get one carry. Well, then 2 or 3 other carries just shows up out of nowhere. Trick at this point is obviously extremely fed, but you also gotta respect something like a Twitch showing up from the side. And Unicorns of Love, they understand that the only way back in the game is a fight like this where you create an early pick. Hard to execute though.
And it's, again, what Unicorns of Love have been so well known for, just trying to find these opportunities in force fight. That was a great hook from Hylissang to start off the fight. You think that, hey, if we take out Perks, then we're in a good spot, but then you realize, Mr. Svenningsson over there, Lord Svenningsson, my mistake, comes in from the flank, just dismantles the back line of the Unicorns of Love. And then when you have Chachi and Xerxes on the front line underneath the turret, there's very little that Unicorns of Love can really do to redeem that fight.
It was my mistake. Looks like the Rek'Sai ult does connect, but simply just not enough damage. Really only the Tiamat in the kit right now for Xerxes. No Warrior Enchant means not quite enough to take Sven down, even with that execute. Makes it quite difficult if you can't kill the Twitch.
Yeah, Vedish, you talked about this in Champ Select, how Xerxes will be the kind of guy who likes to send the Hulk into Titanic Hydra build on Rek'Sai, sorry. Meaning, obviously, you want to try and be very tanky going into the late game and even early on. The problem is just when you play Rek'Sai, your job is to snowball the early game and then rely on your carries to win these fights. So obviously his build is fine, but his carries, right now, they're not. Because they're really far behind. You can't really rely on your 0-3 Rise. He's already not the strongest team fighter.
Oh, Rex is going to go underground and know the Twitch is there immediately. Tremor Sense being the savior yet again for the Unicorns of Love, but that's about the only thing saving them at this point, holding on as much as they can on this tier 2.
Yeah, and they have to just wait almost for Samux to get items, but let's see what they're doing now.
Now looking for a little bit more, but Perks comes in on the side. Where is Sven? He's coming down from the top side. Unicorns of Love are pulling back. There's the engage. Beautiful equalizer to start it off. Vizichachi says no, he doesn't want this fight. And the Unicorns of Love are just going to back away.
Sven, he wants it.
Liffy potentially in trouble. They know Sven is there. Rek'Sai ready to go over the wall, but doesn't have a lot of health. Spray and pray comes out. Unicorns of Love losing the exchange, but not losing any members.
G2 at the beginning of that fight, they'd been able to get push priority on the middle lane, forcing Unicorns of Love back through their own jungle. Not only gives all this vision control over to G2, but also gives them free access onto this tier 2 tower. And while it was Unicorns of Love trying to find a fight in the middle lane, it looked so promising, it was still G2 coming out ahead in what they were able to gain.
And this just looks so good for G2 right now. Their carries in dominant form this time around. Getting a good early game for G2 just seems to be the greatest possible thing for this team. Once they find a lead, it seems impossible to take it away. Unicorns of Love are going to try, because that's the hook on Dispen. That's the damage coming in. That's bye-bye to the Twitch. Mithy cannot devour his ally, and that is the pick Unicorns need.
Yeah, that's the kind of play you need if you want to get back into the game. Let's see if they can get something else. Otherwise, you got to go straight for Baron here. You're far down in gold, but you need to do something crazy. It's
very risky, though. Expect he's still alive, but he does not have his ultimate available. Let's see if G2 can challenge.
Trick with the level advantage as well. Red buff keeping him healthy here, but so much CC to get him out of the pit. Hylissang has already thrown the hook. Out comes the damage from Perks. Expect is here as well. Trick going to get locked up, but not going to get taken down yet. He leaps out to safety. Now Xerxes runs forward. He used the ult, but Trick is still alive, and Unicorns, they've overstayed their welcome. They're going to start getting cleaned up here, and oh man, G2 make the turnaround look easy. Double kill comes in for Expect. Samix is chased out of the pit, and G2 remain in control.
Oh, in the end, Rumble still had his ulti, gets the triple kill, and we can't really blame Unicorns. Whatever. Licks him as well, takes that kill, but really, we can't really blame the Unicorns of Love for going for that Baron. You're already so far down, you realize there are barely any way for you to actually win this game, so you gotta just gamble, and they did. G2 eSports responded, however, and managed to get now the Baron for themselves, all the kills, and even Mythic getting a little kill in the end.
And just big confidence coming in from G2. They take what is basically the 4v5 without one of their biggest carry threats, and it just looks so good.
And it's just the way in which G2 play it. They're always just staying on the edge of the pit, just outside of any kind of engage range of Unicorns of Love, because really, the best case scenario for UOL is that they force a fight 5v4. They know that there are a lot of ultimates on cooldown right now, and rather than just rush down the Baron, best case scenario is they get maybe a kill onto Trick, and then the smite is gone, then they can secure the Baron, but they can't find the engage onto G2.
And let's look at this outplay here.
And let's look at the outplay.
Wait for it.
Got him.
Tom Kench used Lick. It was super effective. Gets the kill down, rounds out the fight. Twitch does 0 damage. Nice job, Sven.
Leaving your team alone right there.
A lord always lets his subjects do the work. Of course, with Baron buff backing them up, G2 in complete control of this game, almost a 10k gold lead in their favor, and it's not quite as fast as the Unicorns of Love win, but it's going to be nigh impossible for the Unicorns of Love to come back here, and instead have to set their sights on that game 3.
Definitely true. Feels really bad seeing how... Actually, never mind. Let's see what happens.
Going to get started. Chain CC comes in, Expect may get picked off, but here comes Mithy. He can't just eat him up, try to take him to safety, but he is knocked back. Not going to get the opportunity to devour, will he? Where is it going to go? The fight just keeps going. Perks goes over the wall. Exile going to get taken down. Spray and pray again. Sven going off. That is the triple kill. G2 just have to walk it down.
Massive fight once again for G2 eSports as Unicorns try and try, but every time they fail as G2 win the fight.
Just looks so good for G2. A big turnaround. Game 1, they were absolutely dominated, and now it is their turn. Xerxes with the desperation play, just trying to hold on, just trying to kill these minions to stop the game from ending. But it's just not going to be enough. All too easy for the double 80 carries of G2, and this is it, folks. One final game will decide it. Who will take it in the end, because G2, they're going to take game 2.
Man, these are some fast games. 26 minutes for Unicorns, 27 minutes for G2. Whichever team managed to just get that lead around the 10-minute mark has just been able to dominate the game from there. Feels bad as well watching a Rek'Sai get early kills.
Yeah.
Go into a team fight and then be like, oh wait, I'm Rek'Sai. And I can't actually do anything. I need my carries. Where are my carries?
It's so awkward too, right? Because we praised Trick for that first gank, but that kill was sort of hand-delivered. He basically walked through that lane and killed an overextending Exile, and that started everything. You can't make those kind of mistakes against the snowballing Kha'Zix.
For me, the biggest play that really started the snowball for G2 was that bottom lane dive the Unicorns tried to attempt. The fact that Chachi completed his teleport, then ended up dying, just allowed Expect to get so much free damage on the tower, get a lot more experience back, and it just brought that deficit top laner back into the game for G2.
And we saw how effective that Rumble was as they moved into the teamfight stage. Even if he was behind a little bit in items, the Equalizer did so much. And of course, it made it so easy for Sven to come in afterwards, for Perkz to come in afterwards when that started everything off and just play cleanup.
Yeah, exactly. You have so many carries, so when you are getting this far ahead, like, yeah, it doesn't matter if one guy dies. There's going to be 2 or 3 other guys picking it up. So all in all, you know, looking at Trick specifically, we again see that difference. Like, we talked about this in Game 1, how if they actually leave the jungle pick for later, we've seen Trick really struggle because he doesn't get like one of his very few comfort picks. Kha'Zix is one of them, so they went all in on it, and it worked for them.
But here's my question, is because what we saw, we can arguably say was a mistake from Exile, overextending in the mid lane. If Trick isn't given a kill or doesn't find those early opportunities, if he has to play an even game, are we going to see the same impact from him, even if he does get that comfort pick like the Kha'Zix?
I mean, he probably would have gotten some of the kills in mid lane. Yes, the first one was gifted for sure, but he returned again and again and again, where Perkz was also winning the trade. So he probably would have gotten some kills, maybe not as many, but that's kind of the hard thing to look back at in hindsight. I think overall, just the Kha'Zix performance was just way better than the Lee Sin.
And I think it's worth emphasizing, too, the way in which he utilized his ultimate to force a lot of fights, especially during the laning phase, and then the way in which he synergized with Mithy too to set up a lot of these plays. So I feel like there were a lot of factors that better enabled him to really impact this early game as well.
Definitely made it work for the team. Well, G2 have brought us to a final Game 3. Let's head back to the analysts to break down how they did it.
Thank you very much, Dracos. And in typical G2 fashion, they lose the first game, they win the next one, and maybe they will also end up winning the series. And one thing that we did notice, and I know we start with a bad thing, even though G2 won, but it was kind of the prophecy here when we spoke about the Exile versus Perkz matchup, that more often than not, Exile, when he starts to make some mistakes, he keeps making those mistakes, especially in decision-making, Sencux.
Yeah, I think like the game was really won for UL in the top lane, and Rumble was really doomed, but Exile already won the trade here, and he flashes in and takes a tower shot, and there's no way he actually kills Lucian, and then now Kha'Zix just comes in for free kills like all the time, and he can't really do too much about it. They try a gank here where it obviously failed, and Lucian and Kha'Zix will just snowball, and Kha'Zix got insanely fed off mid, where I think if Exile just stayed a bit back, actually he already won that trade. He could push the wave, reset, do whatever, and then the game would have been really won from top lane. But by this, then kind of he gives Expect more room to get back into the game because they will have mid pressure and they can use it into top.
And 16 isolated deaths, so that means that Exile dies when nobody is around of his teammates. 16, that's the record for mid laners, and it's case in point.
Yeah, for sure. And going up against a pick like the Lucian mid that needs to snowball in the laning phase, it's just super bad to get these isolated deaths when there's no reason to really stay that far up to burn your flash offensively when there's no way you're going to get the kill. So Exile, I mean, this offensive style has worked out for him before, but he needs to realize when sometimes you need to take the risks and try to go for the flash out plays, but sometimes you just need to stay safe and farm. And when you're up against Lucian mid, that's exactly what you need to do. You don't have to take these sort of risks.
No, and we're hammering it down because it had kind of a cascading effect. The fact that Kha'Zix was getting fed, so he'd go anywhere. They had the top lane one, but then it didn't matter because Kha'Zix was just hopping all over the place. Bottom lane, Mickey was saying, it was kind of boring. We had a Twitch and a Tahm Kench versus a Caitlyn and a Thresh, but still the Tahm Kench seems to be a much better pick now for Mithy.
Yeah, I think that matchup goes like the Caitlyn Thresh just push all the time for the first 10 minutes of the game, and then Twitch and Tahm just farm as much as possible, and then maybe at 6, if Tahm Kench can look for a swap or something, it will be really beneficial, because they also have Rumble, so he can just ult the wave if the UL go with the lane swap as well. So yeah, Tahm Kench is more useful after lane, I would say, but Thresh and Caitlyn can just push them in first and like get the tower, and if they didn't mess up with the dive in the bot lane, where Gragas flashed in, then they could get tower and snowball the lead from there.
Yeah, it could have gone the other way, but as we mentioned, the mid lane deficit also meant that Perkz on Lucian this time around, he did get fed, so he could basically move around the map wherever he wanted, Henning.
Yeah, opens up so many possibilities. Often you want to see the Lucian going towards the side lane, but he didn't really need to in this game because he just had so many possibilities to force the fights with the Tahm Kench ultis. You can start up the fights with wherever you want to. And I mean, if you get the Lucian towards the side lane, you can usually get down a lot of split push pressure, but when you don't have to, just going together is just much a safer prospect, and that's what happened.
Yeah, is Perkz' Lucian redeemed?
I think he's good at Lucian, yeah.
Yeah. Pretty good Lucian,
Pretty
I would
good,
say. I would
but
say.
not better than me.
Not better than Sencooks. Well, let's take a look at a team fight and see exactly how good G2 played those in mid lane this time around. And you talk about the engage here. And it is, again, Hillesang, though, getting the first book off.
Yeah, for a team comp like G2, they don't really need to have an engage because they know UL will be running at them.
Yeah.
And this just says so much about UL's style. Just sees a low HP member, just jump forward for it, goes for the old see hero, kill hero style, but not really working out here. So see Rumble is such a strong team fighting champion, like level 13 there. Big power spike after level 11, you're so strong. And it's really been a priority pick in this series for a good reason.
Yeah, in Spring Split, we were looking at the Unicorns of Love and where they could improve whenever it goes wrong, which is that they press the go button all the time and they sometimes give up deaths needlessly. And this was a great example. Xerxes just with Rek'Sai jumping in all the time, even if it was taking tower aggro and diving, which is kind of also their charm. But you were saying, Sencooks, well, that's their downfall because that's the only thing they really do.
I think like I actually really like the adaptation to go for Rumble first pick in this draft from G2 because the only real thing UL is doing in these two games is just fighting, and Rumble is really good for that. If he just gets equalizes off and can queue, even if he's behind early, it doesn't really matter. So in general, like I think they just opted into what G2 actually wants is to just like counter engage and then actually take the fight. So Twitch is in a good position, Rumble is in a good position, Lucian can move around, and if he goes too far, and Tamkench can eat him, and then Cassis can just jump around and clean up whatever. So I think if this game snowballs for G2 with this draft, it's really hard to get back in the game for UL, and I think that's the biggest problem, that after Exile dies 3 times mid, then the game is just going to be really difficult.
Yeah, we saw that Unicorns of Love basically didn't roll over and die. They just wanted to fight and create some picks. Mickey, break down the next replay and the pick from Hillesang, because he is still very good, isn't he?
Okay. Yeah, so here I would say he wants to go for Kha'Zix's hook here, but Kha'Zix is so good that he dodges it and it hooks Twitch instead.
I'll play it.
He has no flash and Tam can't eat him through that wall because it's too big. So, yeah.
And then here.
Lucian just plays it perfectly, and then Tamkench eats it pretty good as well. But
Yeah.
Pretty good eat.
and Trick is 1v9 as well. But I want to pay close attention to Hillesang right here because he wants to take the Rise ult, and he goes he goes into suicide. So yeah,
Lucky.
Had to take one for the team.
yeah. And then the Rumble is pretty good. And,
That's why we have you on
And
the
then we had
desk side.
maybe
Yeah.
Tom in the end.
Yeah.
He's
So good at
linking off
Tamkench.
Exile.
So if they got that pick off, if you think they would have backed, I mean, there's no chance. Like by the time they get back, maybe G2 has already taken the Baron. Or
I
started,
think the
so-
Baron call is fine. Like,
Yeah.
the game is honestly really doomed from
Yeah,
this point
the
on.
game
They
is
have
doomed.
double
They'll take a
Infernal
chance.
and they have Twitch. So I agree with this call that when you're in this situation, I would prefer that you actually go for an aggressive play, kind of catch them off guard in a way, instead of just sitting back when you know you're going to get outscaled and there's no way you'll win the game by that.
All right, prediction god, Mickey, you said 2-1 for G2 eSports. So how are they going to win the next game?
They're gonna lock in Twitch again, and he's gonna get 3 items, and the game's gonna be over.
All right, well, we will see if that happens. The Unicorns of Love, they need one win to get their revenge against the Kings of Europe.